The funeral home fell into stunned silence as the police K-9, Max, suddenly lunged toward the coffin. People gasped, some screamed, officers rushed forward. But Max planted his paws on the polished wood and barked, so violently it felt like the entire room was shaking. "Get him away from there!" Someone shouted, but Max wouldn't move. His ears flattened, his tail dropped, and his bark turned into a frantic, heartbreaking howl, the kind he only used when he sensed danger. Or life. The young man inside the coffin, barely 20 years old, looked peaceful and still. Too still, Max sniffed the air, whined loudly, then clawed at the coffin lining as if trying to dig deeper. Why is he reacting like that? The funeral director muttered. No one knew, but Max did, and what he was about to reveal would change everything in that room. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The funeral home was heavy with silence, the kind that pressed against every chest in the room. Rows of mourners sat with bowed heads, eyes red, shoulders trembling. At the front of the room, inside a polished wooden coffin, lay 20-year-old Liam Torres, gone far too soon. His mother clutched a tissue in both hands. His father stood stiffly beside her, uniform collar tight around his throat. Beside him sat Max, the family's retired police K-9, usually calm, disciplined, and steady as stone. Today he couldn't stop pacing. His nails clicked anxiously against the marble floor, ears twitching, tail stiff. As the funeral director approached the coffin to begin the final goodbye, Max suddenly froze. His fur bristled. His eyes locked onto Liam's chest. A low growl rumbled in his throat. "Max." "Sit," Liam's father whispered. Max didn't sit. He didn't blink. The moment the coffin lid was opened, Max lunged. Gasps exploded through the room as the powerful German shepherd planted his paws on the coffin's edge, barking with a force that shook the air. "Get him down!" someone cried, but Max refused. He growled fiercely, nose pressed against Liam's uniform, sniffing frantically. His bark shifted, less anger, more urgency. Then he pawed desperately at Liam's collar, whining loudly. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and Max was trying to warn them. Max's frantic barking echoed through the funeral home, bouncing off the walls like a desperate alarm only he understood. Mourners stood from their seats, some backing away in fear, others frozen in confusion. Liam's mother pressed a trembling hand over her mouth, tears streaming faster. "Max, stop!" "Please," Liam's father pleaded, pulling at the dog's harness. But Max resisted, planting his paws firmly on the coffin, pressing closer to Liam's chest as if searching for something. The dog's behavior wasn't aggression, it was urgency, fear, instinct. A young woman near the front gasped, I think his hand moved." Her friend shook her head. "No, it's just your eyes playing tricks." But Max reacted instantly, his ears shooting up. He whined, nudging Liam's collar, then turned his head sharply toward Liam's face, nose twitching. A paramedic who had attended the funeral as a family friend stepped forward. "Let me check him," he said quietly. The room went still. Max suddenly lay down across Liam's chest, whining in long, trembling cries. No one had ever heard from him before. His tail curled protectively along the young man's side. The paramedic leaned in, watching closely. "Hold on." Several mourners held their breath. There was the faintest flutter beneath Liam's neck, barely visible, barely believable, but Max saw it first. The paramedic's expression changed instantly. His brows knit together, his eyes sharpening with focus as he leaned closer to Liam's neck. He pressed 2 fingers gently against the skin, waiting, counting, listening. Max lifted his head, watching him intensely, tail thumping once as if urging him to hurry. A beat. Another. Then the paramedic's eyes widened. "Oh my God." "He has a pulse." His voice trembled. "It's weak, but it's there." Gasps exploded through the room. Someone cried out. Liam's mother collapsed into a chair, shaking uncontrollably. The funeral director staggered backward. That's impossible." "He was pronounced. He's not dead," the paramedic snapped. "Everyone step back, now." Max barked sharply, as if confirming the verdict. Placing his body protectively over Liam again, officers rushed to help, clearing the area around the coffin. The paramedic grabbed his bag and checked for breathing. Liam's chest barely rose, just the smallest ripple beneath his shirt. "He's in a near-death state," the paramedic muttered. "We need to move fast. Call an ambulance." Someone yelled. Two officers wheeled the coffin toward a back room, transforming it into an emergency transport cradle. Max ran beside it, whining, refusing to let anyone separate him from Liam, just as they reached the hallway. Liam's lips parted, and he drew in the faintest shallow breath. The room erupted. Max barked triumphantly. The young man in the coffin was alive. The hospital emergency room erupted the moment the doors burst open. Nurses rushed forward with a stretcher as officers helped lift Liam's fragile body from the coffin. Max tried to follow, but Liam's father held him back gently. "Let them work, boy." "Let them work," he whispered, voice shaking. Inside the trauma bay, doctors swarmed Liam like a storm. Machines beeped frantically. A nurse shouted vitals. Another started warming blankets. Liam's skin was ice cold, his pulse thread thin. "This isn't natural cardiac failure," one doctor muttered, examining his bluish fingertips. "Check toxicology." Within minutes, the results flashed on screen. The room fell silent. "He was poisoned," the lead doctor said. "A rare compound that mimics death, slows the heart to near zero, drops body temperature, shuts down visible signs of life." If that dog hadn't reacted, everyone knew how the sentence ended. Liam would have been buried alive. Max, waiting outside the glass door, paced anxiously, whining every time Liam's heartbeat monitor dipped. Nurses exchanged stunned looks. It was as if the dog could feel every flutter. Doctors fought to stabilize Liam, warming pads. 4 antidotes, oxygen, chest stimulation. His heartbeat flickered weak, unstable before slowly gathering strength. One doctor exhaled shakily. "He's fighting back." Meanwhile, officers questioned Liam's family. His sister revealed he'd felt ill the night before. After meeting a friend, the truth began to surface. And Max, sensing Liam's heartbeat finally steady, let out a soft, relieved whine. The battle to save him wasn't over, but hope had returned. Detectives gathered in the hospital hallway, voices low and tense. The toxicology report confirmed that Liam hadn't died from illness or an accident. He had been poisoned. And whoever did it wanted the world to believe he was gone. Max paced in front of the room, nose pressed to the glass, tail low. The moment Liam stirred inside, Max perked up. The dog knew he was waking. Detective Rivas knelt beside him. "You smelled something on him, didn't you, boy?" "Something we missed." Max lifted his head, nostrils flaring. He suddenly trotted toward Liam's belongings laid out in evidence bags. His ears shot up at one hoodie in particular. "That's the one he wore the night before," Liam's sister whispered, trembling. Rivas opened the bag. Max shoved his nose inside, then growled a deep, warning rumble, a scent, a person, a clue. Moments later, officers brought in Liam's closest friend, Jordan, the last person to see him alive. He insisted he'd done nothing wrong, but when Max entered the room, the truth surfaced. The dog's ears flattened. His growl deepened. He stepped between Liam's family and Jordan. Jordan broke. Tears streamed down his face. "It was a stupid joke. I thought it was harmless. I didn't know it could kill him." Detectives exchanged horrified glances. Liam had nearly died because of a reckless act, and Max had been the only one who sensed it in time. 2 weeks later, sunlight poured through the hospital windows as Liam sat up in bed, color finally returning to his cheeks. Machines that once beeped frantically now hummed softly beside him. Max lay curled at his feet, his head resting protectively across Liam's ankle, as if he'd never left his side. Liam's mother wiped her tears as she leaned in to hug him. "We almost lost you," she whispered. "If it weren't for Max." Liam looked down at the big German shepherd, emotion tightening his voice. "He saved me, even when no one else could hear me." News crews gathered in the hallway as officers arrived carrying something wrapped in blue velvet. Detective Rivas stepped forward and revealed a bravery medal. "This," he said, kneeling beside Max, belongs to the hero who refused to let us bury the truth." The room filled with applause as Max tilted his head. Confused but happy, his tail thumping softly against the sheets, the funeral home publicly apologized, acknowledging the near tragedy, and Liam's community vowed to raise awareness about the rare condition that had fooled everyone. Liam reached down, pulling Max into a tight embrace. "You didn't just save my life," he whispered. "You protected my future." Max closed his eyes, resting peacefully exactly where he belonged.